Welcome to the Blue Room Podcast, a space where we explore ourselves, our lives, and our relationships more deeply through therapeutic conversation. I'm your host, Fantanish Atomsa, and I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. So today we have my friend and mentor with us again, Tia Upshaw, and we're going to be chatting about what it's like to date as a single mom, which is a whole crazy journey. But before we start the conversation, I'm going to get you to pull a card. Conversation card.
I'm going to go down to the middle because last time I pulled one
From the top?
From the top, so I'm going to go to the middle.
All right.
Okay. What do you think is the hardest thing about the choices you have made?
Damn.
That's an wide open question.
Right. That's for the jugular.
The hardest thing for my choices would be missing out on the opportunities to really get to know who my kids are. Mm-hmm. Missing out opportunities to being a part of their special experiences because the choices I've made in the last 10 years have been about elevating me personally as a Black woman. And not so much, being a mother figure to my kind of adult kids now, but they were younger when I started my first business. Yeah. So it'd be the hardest thing. Mm-hmm. And every decision before 10 years, I have to relive, in the present. So
yeah, I know what you're saying with that. And for folks who don't know who you are, I just assume everybody knows who Tia is. But she is a serial entrepreneur here in Halifax. Mm-hmm. Her recent business is Femme Noir. It's a consulting company. She just opened this up literally just days or weeks ago.
I announced it on Monday.
So that's this week. And prior to that, she had a successful 10-year business, which she has transferred over to her daughter now, who runs it. So that also just happened on Monday.
Yeah.
So generational wealth, we love to see it. And I know what you mean. As when you have a single income household, you miss out on a lot with your kids. You do. You do. And that's why we're trying to find a 2-income household. That's why we're trying to be out here dating.
Even then, I mean, we'll get into that in a bit, I guess. But even then, I think for me, having a 2-household income is not going to slow me down.
It won't.
Because me as an individual, I'm very independent.
Yeah.
The person I am with, who I love, my best friend, and he knows this, I don't, have to be with him. Yeah. I choose to be with him.
Right.
And there's a big difference when you have to be with someone because of income or security. Sometimes it may not work and it may be a hard challenge. But when you're with someone because you want to and you already have your own, it's a whole different vibe, trust me.
Don't, please, man, you need to say that again. That one just slapped me because I've definitely been in a situation where
so have I.
You're with someone just because you want that security, that support. You just want that second income because it is really difficult to raise kids on your own on one income. So I've definitely been there where I was like, let's just do it for the
kids.
The stability, just because it's practical, just because it's easy, but then it ends up being not easy at all. It was really difficult because we had no common interests. We had nothing. Nothing.
I've been there. Or you can be with somebody for so long, and that's all you know is that person.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle they were able to give to you. You stay in a relationship that you know is toxic and not good, and it's not good for you. Or the other individual.
Or the kids.
Our kids, we raise our kids in a lifestyle that's totally unacceptable today. Totally unacceptable. My kids were on the steps with me 1-2 o'clock in the morning. Well, we're selling weed or whatever. It was normal. I was 14 with my first kid and 17 with my second people.
Right.
So I didn't know how to be a mother.
Yeah.
But my kids, they've never really seen us argue and fight. And if they did, it was almost like, oh, it's just mom and dad. It was how they were raised. So it was kind of normal for them.
Yeah.
If they went to, say, your house where that never happened,
they'd
be like, I don't think your mom and dad like each other because we're getting along, right? So
right.
It was, they're dealing with that now as adults because now they have to relive it and certain things that we thought was normal as parents, not normal because now our adult children are going through it.
But that's the thing. You can be on the step with your kids 1, 2 in the morning. You can be in the nicest house with your husband and there should still be stuff going down in the house. That's just toxic and traumatic for the kids. So, and you could be just literally trying your best to raise your kids and they're still going to experience. Everybody has to deal with their own traumas and they all have to.
Figure it out.
They do. I'm going to pull a card. All right. Tell me about an experience that changed your life. Changed my life? Can
we not be like most women would go to? Can we not
being a mother?
Yes, please don't say that. Let's talk about something that's real in depth.
Yeah. I would say for me, my trip back home, because I was 16, just turned 17. At that point in my life, I had dropped out of school. My parents didn't know what to do with me. I was literally running the streets. You wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, with Tia.
We were, we were from the same hood. Like, I dropped out of school. I was, like people like to say, experimenting.
Yeah.
I was in everything. And that was also because of my own traumas. And I'll share, that'll be on episode 1. But I was all over the place. My parents didn't know what to do with me. I had dropped out of school. I wasn't listening. I wasn't following the rules in the house. So they shipped me back home. My mom took me on a trip back home for 4 months. They shipped me. Like, my mom came with me, but I'm telling you, it was like I didn't have a choice. We were going. And if my kids ever act up and tried some of the stuff that I tried, back home is the only option.
Really?
Send them back. It changed my life. It changed my life. Like, there's so many layers to it. There's the layer of, first of all, being in a space where you are the majority.
Yes.
So you see Black people in places of positions of power, positions of influence, of excellence. Like, I was like, well, damn, like, I'm just blending in.
Yeah.
Nobody has a stereotype of me other than they thought I was American. So everyone thought I had money. And they didn't know I could understand the language. So they'd be talking about me when I was, you get all that. But aside from that, like, I really saw what life meant. I found my purpose again. I found my passion again. It was healing. I came off of everything that I was on, like all the vices, all the substances I was using. It was like, I just came off everything. And it tested a lot of my relationships with my parents.
Yeah.
I got to see things differently. I got to see where they grew up and why they did some of the things that they did. And then I came back to Halifax. I enrolled back in school, got pregnant still.
Oh, God.
Got pregnant still.
Yeah, still.
It didn't prevent that.
Ethiopia wasn't birth control.
It didn't work that well. But it really, it gave me a sense of self. Mm-hmm. So even though I had my kid, I had him in July and then I was back in school in September. So I was very motivated. My parents helped me out.
I was gonna say, girl, did you got parents for helping you like that?
They were. I was in school. I was on an income assistance. My parents watched my kids.
Wow.
They were in my son was in daycare for a bit. I remember dropping him off, going to school, picking him back up at 19. And then when he wasn't in daycare, or wanted to save money in daycare, or I think I could pay my mom to watch my son. I think that was one of the things you could do on income assistance.
That was back then.
That was back then. Yeah. You can't do it anymore.
I don't think you can. I don't think it's...
No.
Yeah.
If you can, it's a hack. So
yeah,
you didn't know.
The money still comes right to the household income.
Right. Yeah, and then you just pay your provider. They write a receipt for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember them days? I'll babysit all your children. You give me their checks.
So yeah, that changed my life. And part of one of my my wellness practice is I want to give Black folks here an experience to go back to either Africa, either the Caribbean, as part of wellness and healing, because it changed my mental health, it changed my identity, it changed my sense of self, it changed the way that I saw the world and saw myself in the world. And I feel like Black folks here especially need to experience that. It's so oppressive living here.
Oh, it is every day.
Living here is so oppressive.
Every day.
You don't even realize how subtle it's like you just, man. I can't even walk out with my hair like this sometimes, and people just be
Oh,
thinking
can I
that
touch? Oh, it's so nice. No, don't touch and don't tell me it's nice because you don't even know what it is.
just leave me alone.
It is oppressive. And the comment you made earlier about being the majority and not the minority.
Yeah, language
that
is
is
important.
a big reason why, you know, me and my fiance have been building in Jamaica. Because I'm hoping by the time my youngest she's actually going to grade 12 this year.
Damn.
So her prom will be this time next year. Like, what?
Wow.
Like, it's going to be insane, of course. We're going to make sure it's lit for
It's
her.
lit.
But, you know, whatever she chooses to do, I'm hoping that she wants to go away for university. But if she doesn't, she's a business owner too. So she has her business called Lash Game.
Right.
So if you want to strive and excel in your business, you can do that. You can stay at the house. You'll be of age. My God, I moved over when I was 15.
Yeah.
You'll be 18. You can live on your own. I'm hoping to spend most of my time in Jamaica.
Damn.
Because even though I'm fair skinned, I'll never be white. No matter what space I go in,
Right.
I'll never be white. They'll never accept me, especially as soon as I open my mouth.
Yeah.
It's downhill.
Yeah.
But when I'm in Jamaica, they don't even give me a second look.
No, they
I
don't.
am
You're
a
just,
part of
you're
the
just there.
majority. We're
You're
all black.
The global majority.
Literally.
You
So I get it.
Yeah. It changes. And when I say oppressive, like, no, we're not here in chains. No, we're not here, you know, there's no segregation. But the mental stuff that's going on, man, it's like...
It's every day.
It's every day. That's why there is such things as DEI initiatives and all that stuff. And it's like...
Black women in excellence, because of the reasons of being oppressed as Black women in business.
Absolutely.
We're not offered the same opportunities anybody else.
No.
And I don't mean as white people, but I mean Black women are not offered the same opportunities as any other culture.
Yeah. It's bottom of the totem pole.
We are at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
And we'll always be there.
Yeah. And I mean, again, language is really important. And a lot of what you do in your work and what I do in my work is we empower, we inspire, we educate. And you know, any events that we do, anything that we do, we want to make sure that's a celebration. You know, Black History Month, I'm not talking about slavery, segregation, none of that shit ever. Like,
I don't want to talk about it.
We're not
Number
even gonna
one,
celebrate it.
you can't even really get Tia to speak anywheres Black History Month.
Yeah.
So if you are watching this and you're looking for Tia to come to your
it.
organization, business, or whatever it may be.
Not in February.
Not in February. February, I am MIA.
Yeah.
Because we have 12 months in a year.
Yeah.
What about the 11 other months? Why haven't you called Tia then?
Right.
To talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Simmer on that.
Literally. No bookings.
Simmer on that. My God. Yeah, we could just talk about this stuff forever.
It's a passion of mine. That topic.
What is it?
That topic.
Oh, it's a passion.
It's a passion. I can talk about it until the cows come home.
I mean, that's why you started Black Women in Excellence.
Literally.
Because of the barriers Black women face in business. That's why I started my practice, because we don't see ourselves represented in wellness spaces, in wellness marketing. I've worked in spas and clinics here locally. Could my friends come? Could my family come?
They could come.
But they never felt.
They don't feel welcomed.
No.
It's not a safe space for us.
It's not. Simmer on that one too.
Another simmer. I would say rotate on that.
That's it, rotate. Okay, back to dating as a single mom, guys.
Totally forgot. Sorry.
We just took a little detour there. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with your kid's father. Can you talk about that a little bit before we go into where you're at right now?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away 3 years ago in a tragic car accident, suddenly, literally, December 17th, right before Christmas. So, but prior to that, we were together for 20 years. 20 years. We were Bonnie and Clyde in my community. Anybody who's watching this and are from the park, you already know. When it came to, illegal activities, selling dope, all that stuff, the party was at our house. Like, we were the Bonnie and Clyde of the community.
Right.
And he was well known throughout Nova Scotia for what he did. The lifestyle we lived was not a lifestyle as, we're going to love one another and grow together. It was purely, we both had to survive. We're both young parents. We were both raised by grandparents. Even though our mothers were there, they didn't raise us. So we had a lot of similarities in trauma. And that's why we connected so well. So we were really mainly best friends that just end up having sex and being lovers and friends and then end up being parents.
All in one.
It just happened very quickly. I think within the first year and a half of us just like starting to talk and stuff, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm pregnant. So we had our first child in grade 8. I was going into grade 8 that year. And we would travel to St. Pat's High School, drop him off, come back to Highland Park, do class, and then go back and get him at 3.
Not St. Pat's and Highland Park. Those are where I went to.
Those are the stomping grounds. But we had it wasn't healthy in today's definition, but it was healthy in our community and in my definition. Yeah. That's all I knew and that's all I loved, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of, cheating. There was a lot of disrespect and arguing. We'd be in the club, like literally fighting, like fist fighting. So it wasn't an abusive relationship because I was giving it like he was giving it, right?
Y'all were fighting each other.
Literally, we were squaring off.
Jeez.
Like, it was a thing. It was normal when we go home and lay up and have sex. Like, it was normal, right? So we ended up breaking up in the summer of 2013. Or no, 2012, sorry. Okay. We ended up breaking up. And
all your kids were already born at that point?
Oh, God, my kids were grown. My son,
2013.
Yeah, 2013 we broke up.
10 years ago.
Yeah, so we were together for 20 years. We got together in 93 or 94.
Wow.
Yeah, a long time we were together.
Wow.
And we and I wouldn't say that it's because he cheated. There was a lot of factors to it with, him constantly cheating, me constantly, not really cheating, but when he went to jail, I would find somebody else till he got out and we get back together.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the last straw. I think I was going through a transition of growth. And I found out that he was running with a friend of mine. And I heard about it, but I couldn't prove it for a long time.
Wow.
And then finally I was able to prove it because he went to jail and she was outside talking about how much she's going to miss him and blah, blah, blah. Someone called me, I rolled up, and she told me everything.
Whoa.
They were together for 4 years.
And that's your friend?
Yeah. They were together for 4 years without me really, really knowing. My kids called her auntie. It was a whole thing.
Oh my.
So I went MIA. Depressed. I left my community. I went to Creighton Street. Because I wouldn't be his side, because he wouldn't let me have her as a side chick and me as the main chick. He was just like, well, I'll give you everything you got. Nothing will change if you just accept her. And I was like, no.
Wow.
And he took everything. Literally, we lived in a 4-bedroom condo on Stony Brook Court, Clayton Park. I had a red, what was it called? Dodge Durango with rims, full system. It was a thing. My life was good. I was going on trips every month. I was getting allowance every Friday to go shopping with my girls. VIP at all the clubs because of him. And I just couldn't do it no more. Yeah. And I said no, and I walked away. And then that's when everything went downhill financially for me. So that was the turning point of financial, bullshit. What am I going to do? Should I go back to him?
Yeah.
But I knew nothing was going to change with us.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm not. I'm just going to stick it out. And even before he passed away, though, we didn't speak for 2 years after we broke up.
You guys
we didn't talk.
Right.
There was nothing. You can see the kids. You can meet them outside. There's nothing for me to say. There was no communication.
Wow.
And then the 3rd year, it was Mother's Day. And he was having his first child with her.
Okay.
Or 3 years after our breakup.
Okay.
And I was working at the Shabaktu Inn Hotel as a housekeeper.
Okay.
Literally. And I was doing that on the weekends. And he came with flowers. And I said, I already knew you were having a baby. I heard that through the grapevine, but thank you very much. Whatever he said, I know what I did was fucked up. And, I should have said something. But honest to God, I never had the guts to say anything. Because we've been together for so many years. You're not just my baby mom. You were a friend. You were a best friend type thing.
Yeah.
So I decided, along with my fiance at the time, because I met somebody else.
Okay.
And he wasn't a fiance then, but he was like, I don't know what happened with you in your past relationship, but you need to forgive for us to grow. So along with my now fiance telling me that and me wanting to kind of forgive him, I forgave him and I moved on.
Wow.
So before he died, we ended up being great friends. He would come over to host Christmas. I would cook him food Thanksgiving because his new woman doesn't cook, doesn't know how to. Literally, he would come to his old baby mama's house to get fed. I would pick him up from downtown if he was drunk. He would call me and say, girl, can you come pick me up? I'm drunk.
Wow.
And I couldn't drop him off at his house because she would have thought something was going on. There was nothing ever going on. Oh. We were strictly really great friends.
You guys had a good relationship.
We had a great relationship after we broke up. We both agreed we should have broke up 10 years prior to when it happened. We should have broke up before we had our 3rd child. because it was done then, and we both agreed on it. We just never had the guts to say it. Right. We just stay together. It's Bonnie and Clyde. It's Tia and Buzzy. Like, why? Like, you don't.
Comfortable.
It was just comfortable for us.
Yeah.
And I knew I had a safety net. So if I went to jail, he was out with the kids. He would put his court dates off until I go, and then he would go in and go to jail, and I would have the kids.
That's real Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, we literally, our kids were never in care.
Right.
Not once the children did ever come to my door. Nice. Not once.
Nice.
All the years. So it was a unit. It was a dysfunctional unit.
Dysfunctional but functional.
Yeah, unit for us. It was perfectly imperfect unit that worked, but we ended up being great friends. And I always mention that part because even at his funeral, someone said to me, "I'm so sorry that you and Buzzy broke up," whatever. I'm like, girl, he's dead now, but thank you. But I have closure and I'm okay because I forgave him. We became good friends.
Close.
But imagine if I would have held that animosity.
Absolutely.
I would not have closure today. I would probably be distraught, torn.
You would. And having that closure and having that good relationship allows you to then move on with your future relationship.
Absolutely.
Like with your fiance and things.
And it helps my kids heal. Because if you have a parent that dies and the other parent hates that parent, don't want to talk about it, how do you grieve? Because I have kids.
Your kids need to talk to you about it.
So we joke about him all the time with his ashy fingers, ashy bum cheeks. Remember when Dad used to do this? Before he died, he went on a trip to Hong Kong with a group of his friends from the park.
Really?
And he took an Ativan and something else the night before the flight. And he overdosed on it, and he thought he bit his tongue off, and he was running around, ambulance coming, everything to get him. He thought he ate his tongue, like it was the whole thing. So me and my kids talk about it. We talk about everything. I make sure that his memory is just like literally, girl, was the thing. Sorry if it's too much information, but that was his last big thing that happened with him, was him going to Hong Kong. And the kids really, I think they enjoy that mom can talk about dad. We have his ashes in the house. We got pictures in the house. And all the while,
it's just all love.
It is all love. And all the while, I'm with somebody I've been with for 10 years. Will be 10 years for us in October. And he stood beside me the whole time. Like, he was never self-confident, like self-conscious, or he felt inferior.
He accepts it.
He accepts it. He's like, you spent 20 years with the man. Do I expect that you're going to just...
That's maturity.
Yeah,
he
is.
That's real maturity.
Oh, he is mature.
That's real. Like, you talk about fast. I have 3 kids, 2 different dads. So the first one, I literally came back from Ethiopia. As you guys know, we talked about in the last episode. I went away, came back, changed my life, but it was not birth control. I came back and I got pregnant right away. My oldest, his dad and I were dating for maybe 2 months, and then I got pregnant at 18. So my parents, of course, were freaking because I had just been shipped off, came back, supposed to be a whole new change of life, supposed to be focused, and then I'm pregnant. My dad took it harder. My mom was like, it's okay, we're going to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because she was married off at 13.
Damn.
And so she had her first kids at 15.
Oh, God.
So for her...
But she was married, so it made it acceptable.
But it's an arranged marriage. It's a forced marriage. It's, the first husband, God rest his soul, didn't treat her the best. So... I mean, she was like, she understood from a woman's perspective how that felt. So she was like, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
My dad, once my son was born, his grandson is his favorite person in the world. They ended up forming their bond. But of course, with the relationship with my first one, we were just so young. Like 18, 19. What are we supposed to do at that age? I remember I wanted to get married, build a house, build a family. That's kind of my version of what I thought a family was supposed to be at that age. And he just wasn't ready. He wasn't in that space. So I remember very early on, I separated from him and I found my own place, and I was pretty independent. I mean, even though I was on social assistance, like I was still going to school, still doing the things. And me and his dad, we were off and on for a bit, but we completely separated, I would say, like 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Like for good, after a big blow up. I think I told you about that one.
Yeah, you did.
It was a big blow up, but it was a lot of emotions involved. But at the end of the day, like where we're at today, we have a relationship that's workable in the sense of like, we can communicate. It's like that coworker that, you have to work with you don't necessarily
but you have to work with. You can coexist.
Right. Exactly. And if
you keep it cute.
We keep it cute. You know, we do what's best for Mar, and if anything comes up, we can talk to each other, and it's fine. Now my second, the twins' dad, he came into our lives in a place where I was looking a lot for stability and security, and he brought that to the table. He was there for me. He was there for Mar. But again, we just, in terms of personality and interests, like, you know, we just
wasn't there. We just spoke about that in the other episode.
Yeah.
We spoke about something like that. Yeah.
It like, and all the things run through your mind. You know, you want to make it work for the kids, and you want to do all this, but when you don't feel satisfied and fulfilled, I couldn't stay in that situation. But again, we have a good working relationship. We communicate a lot more because the kids are so young. They're only 2 years old. So we have to talk every day. You know, who's dropping who off, we need extra underwear at our house. You know, can you bring a bottle? Like they're just so young, and if they want to call me when they're with him, they call me. If they want to call him when they're with me,
vice versa.
Yeah, like we have to make sure, you know, that we are still respectful and we still co-parenting and things like that. But him and I have been separated for 2 years, and the kids are only 3.
Yeah,
they're just turning 3.
Wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. So we first separated when they were 3 months old. So I've pretty much been single for like 2.5 years. But the first year, you're like, I never.
Oh, you don't want no man.
No,
not even no man, no relationship. But for us, we're attracted to men. It's like, I don't want no man.
Right.
You don't want to deal with it.
And
if you do, you're kind of all over the place.
You're
living your best life.
Right.
You're out there.
You're not tolerating shit.
No, literally, you're
not.
Like,
when I first started attitude. When I first started dating, I was like, whoa, like you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. I had no compromise because I feel like I have put up with so much that I was like, I'm not gonna waste my time this time. If you're not literally perfect, I'm not going to give you the time of day.
That's a toxic trait.
That's a toxic trait. Back to episode 2, like that's a real toxic trait. I had to work through it. Now I'm trying to like compromise, and I'm dating. I'm in a better space dating where I feel like I'm learning from y'all and people who are in these healthier relationships. But at the same time, like, you know, dealing with like processing that first year of like, you know, I don't want to date, I don't want to do all this, and then now kind of being back in the dating world in a space where I feel like I'm in a better mental space. I'm like, how can I date like here with the type of people that we have here in our circle? Like, I don't know if you have a fiance. Like,
he's Jamaican too, so he's not in a circle. He's not Nova Scotian. He's not Canadian. I did not meet him in any circles in Halifax.
No.
So it's totally different.
You had a whole, and that and another thing is too, having 2 baby daddies. You're not trying to have a third.
No.
So like you're already trying to process all that and be like, you know, you don't want that stigma, you don't want that stereotype.
No, you don't.
And now you're trying to be out dating folks, and they're gonna be like, oh, you have kids? Oh, how many? Oh, 3? Oh, how many baby daddies? Oh, 2?
Well, there's one. In all fairness, one set are twins.
They were twins, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So that counts for something.
Yes.
That counts
twins.
For something,
They're
right?
twins.
So I mean, how long did you stay single before you started your dating?
I went through a depression. I'm going to say single about 6 months. It wasn't long. Single, where I was just, well, I shouldn't even say 6 months, because literally I was just out there riding the wave. Literally riding the wave. I was in the club every weekend.
Yeah.
After I went through 30 days of not talking to anybody, not eating, crying, not sleeping, like wasn't even functional for my kids. My biological mother had my kids. Like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But once a friend of mine, which is now an ex-friend, but at the time she was a friend, and she was like, I have a wedding I'm going to, and I want you to come with me as a guest, whatever, just come. Let's get out. And I lost a lot of weight too. So I end up going to get my hair colored. So that's the first time I went blonde.
Damn.
I went blonde, got some of it cut off. I had a tight
Blonde does something
body.
to you.
It does.
Blonde, like when you're ready to change your life, you
Blonde.
just be going blonde.
Literally, you go blonde and you do the red lip, and I had a red
that's it.
bodycon dress on and a pair of
Wow.
red and white heels. I'll never
That's
forget
a
what I had on
deal.
that night.
Uh-huh.
And I went to a wedding, and it was a Jamaican wedding. Somebody
Okay.
here was marrying a Jamaican, and I go to this wedding, and it just kind of changed everything for me. It literally was fun. I
Yeah.
was, wasn't hearing anybody. Like, I don't want talk. Like,
Yeah.
and meeting my fiance came with that.
Right.
And even then, I was like, I'm just here doing Tia. Like, I went from Shantia to Tia.
Right.
Just like that. And I was just freak nasty. Like, just out there with whatever, riding the wave.
Oh.
Because I was with someone for 20 years, so I just wanted to breathe. And, within probably, I'll say 10 months is when I really came into the relationship I'm in now.
Yeah.
So once
You weren't rushing into like.
I
you had to
wasn't.
Take your time.
But even though me going into that relationship, he was my boyfriend. We decided we were going to date, and then we'd end up saying we're going to be committed to just me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Even during that, I didn't bring him around people. Like, no one knew. They just knew I had a boyfriend. No one even believed me. My kids will tell you today, we swear to God that this man was made up because.
You didn't bring him around.
Nope.
The kids didn't see him.
Nope. For 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. 3 years. And I brought him, let my kids meet him. His actually it was 2 years. Because his second year with me, my kids met him the night before we were going back to Jamaica. We went out for dinner. So you weren't allowed at my house. I would go to his.
Right.
So he came to dinner.
Boundaries.
Yeah, literally. And then I took him to the airport and he went back.
Yeah.
So the following year, my kids got to see him like 2 or 3 times. Here and there, still not at my house. And then I let my grandmother meet him.
Right.
And my other family members didn't even know who he was either. So my grandmother met him, my kids met him. That's all that mattered to me. And I waited that long because there's no sense of bringing a man into my children's life who has no intention to properly love me and to accept and love my children equally. Mm-hmm. There's no point. Mm-hmm. I'll just keep, fucking out. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? We'll just keep it at that.
But with that, like, I find there's still this stereotype and misconception when I experience it dating with kids. Like, when a guy comes into my life, they think that I want them to be the father figure to my kids. I'm like, that's not what you're here for, first of all. Like, and I feel like that's what kind of makes guys apprehensive sometimes. It's like, oh, she has kids, she needs me to step in and be the dad and stuff like that. I find that such a big misconception. Like if men are dating women who are single moms, understand that we want you there first of all for us. And that's why we're not bringing you around our kids right away. That's why we're not integrating you right away. Like, we have to make sure that we like you first. Like, you're dating us first. And then if we like you, then we'll do the whole slowly.
But with that being said, I find a lot of women are scared to have those uncomfortable conversations. So before you even say you're dating, and then before you say you're committed to each other, there should be conversations about, the children. Does he have children? Do you have children? What do you expect from him? What does he expect from you as a mother?
Right.
What is his long-term goals? Is he looking to get married? Does he want to have more kids with you? All those things me and my fiance spoke about.
Right.
We both didn't want any more kids because he already had 4 and I had 3.
Yeah.
He knew I wasn't looking for a father. I made that very clear.
Yeah.
He was looking for marriage in the next 10 to 15, and so was I.
Yeah.
And he was okay with me finding myself and building my businesses.
Right.
And I joke about this because I always say, just when I'm speaking in public about, my personal life, is I said to him, I can't remember what night it was, but one of the nights, that, God is first, my children are second, my business is third, and you'll always come last. And if that's not something that you can deal with, then it's not gonna work. 'Cause I'm not gonna choose between you or any of those.
Right.
I'm not doing it. I'm not choosing you between my kids. I'm not choosing you or my business.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I need to be self-sustainable for myself. Because if you decide to leave me in 20, 30 years, I need to still have my empire.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop that to make you feel boosted up as a man.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But in the same tone, I'm not always like that powerful masculine type, so a lot of my femininity comes out when it comes to him.
Yeah.
Like, he knows that about me.
Yeah.
It just
he creates
works.
that safe space for
He
you.
does.
He supports you in everything you do. He supports all your endeavors.
He does.
And
literally crazy ideas too. And he'd be like, you know what, Tia, I don't know, but if you think it's going to work, just like Black Women in Excellence.
Yeah.
He was just like, if you think it's going to work, let's just do it. I got your back. Whatever you need, I'm going to support you in it.
And it allows you to soften. Like if people feel, or if men feel like we're too masculine nowadays, then we want to be feminine. We want to like soften up. And it's not an issue of submitting. It's not an issue of any of these things, but we need a space that we feel like we're supported in and that we feel like we're heard in. Because I've definitely been in relationships too where I couldn't make a decision. I my opinions didn't matter.
Oh, those are the worst relationships.
And then you become more hard. You become more masculine.
And then you become quiet.
You do.
You become quiet because you just disengage. And there's a word you just use, submissive. And I had a conversation with a colleague or a friend of mine a few months ago. And I said, I'm very submissive. I use the word all the time. I'm very submissive to my fiance. And I have no problem with doing it because he allows me to feel safe with me being submissive. Yeah. He uplifts me, loves me unconditionally. There's nothing about me that he's ashamed of. Yeah. He'll stand beside me if I need him there. I don't even call on me. He's right there. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. So for me to be submissive is natural. Yeah. So there's a difference when you're looking at it from a negative connotation of being submissive. Of course, you're going to feel, all boasted and as a Black woman. Yeah. But when you have that Black man that just is there through everything, you can be submissive, and it comes naturally without you feeling like I don't have to ask permission to do nothing. Yeah. But I will let my man know, like, I'm going away, I'm going to this and doing that. I'm not asking permission, I'm letting you know, and vice versa. Yeah. If he's going out with his friends, he'll say, yo, Tia, I'm going to go out tonight. Are you okay with that?
There can't be control.
There's no control. I'm not your mother, you're not my father.
Yeah, it has to be a willingness, and it has to come out of love. Absolutely. Honestly. What would your priorities be when dating as a single mom? Like, what's something that you were looking for?
Someone that loved me unconditionally. That was the biggest thing. You can't change Tia. Yeah. I don't want a man that's trying to change me. Yeah. I don't want a man that says you're wearing too much makeup or you got your titties are old and your ass is hanging. I don't want a man like that. Yeah. Because this is me, my personality. And,
you gotta be comfortable with it.
I have multiple businesses. I'm sitting here today, but, this is me. Yeah. And if you think that, you can't take me somewhere because I dress a certain way, or you're like, oh, you're not presentable to your mom, keep it fucking moving. Yeah. So I wanted someone who accepted me authentically for who I was. Yeah. All the good, bad, and ugly about me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're engaged, and that's eventually a goal that I have as someone who's dating and with kids, and I'm always like trying to navigate this dating world, with kids as a single mom and things like that. And I know it's hard.
It's very hard because someone can love you, but then you start thinking, are they going to love my children?
The same way.
Loving me and sleeping in my bed is different than you loving and wanting to be around my kids when they're screaming and crying and running around.
Absolutely.
When I got with him, Zari was only 5 going on 6. Yeah. So she's at that age where she was just miserable, bossy, she was a spoiled little girl anyways. Yeah. So you're 5 years old in the mall flipping your body on the floor because I won't buy you a treat bag from Claire's. That's the type of kid she was.
Kids are
oh my God,
crazy.
She was unruly. And he's just and he's Jamaican, so most, Caribbean, fathers are strict. Like they're like, Tia, you need to get this under control. He would walk out and be like, why is she on the floor? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's just Zari. He's like, no, you're going to regret this when she's 13.
Right. Damn.
And he was right. He was so freaking right. Like, oh my God, she's almost 17. Like, yeah, yeah.
And I mean, my goal is to get to a space where, again, marriage is something that I want. Engagement is something that I want, and just learning how to navigate this whole dating thing is crazy.
And scary.
And I did put the question out to our Instagram, and I asked, what questions, advice do you have for single moms that are dating? It's a selfish question because I definitely want to know the question and the answers. And someone said, keep the bar high, focus on fulfilling your needs. Anything a partner will give is extra. Also remember that you are a full and delicious cake.
Not a full and delicious cupcake.
I didn't read this fully. The partner is like the cherry on top, but that cake is still whole and absolutely amazing.
God. Somebody wants to date with you, girl.
Without the cherry.
Someone wants to date.
You are the prize always. Yeah, like and you're right. Your priorities have to be in the right place. You can't be wanting to date as a single mom just because you want that second income,
It's
just
not going to work.
because you want like another person in the house to help, raise your kids. Like it has to be, you have to be secure first in who you are. And I know in my relationships, and I'll be honest, like there was a lot of times I was super toxic in the
Oh, me too.
relationships.
Hmm.
Yep, with my kids' dads, with other,
Yeah.
people I was dating, and I had a lot of insecurities, and I had to heal through that
Hmm.
and figure that out so that I can be in a better place for the next person. And I mean, seeing you with like your kids and your fiance, I see your guys' love is like
Oh my
literally
God, he is my
so
like.
strong.
I know people are like best friend. I can hang with him before I hang with anybody else.
Yeah.
Me and him have good laughs. We do date night every Friday for the last 10 years. We've never missed it unless he's in Jamaica. When he goes
Yeah.
back to Jamaica from April to November to April. When
Yeah.
he's here in Canada, every Friday night we
He
do
does
date
it.
night.
Oh,
We switch up the different. If it's sushi, if it's Thai, if it's pizza, whatever,
spending
and we
that
have a
time.
bottle of wine. We talk
Yeah.
and we connect. And every Sunday he cooks a big meal for me on Sunday.
Yeah.
And he just caters to me and gives me my back rub and all that stuff every Sunday.
He
Never
loves you,
changes.
loves you.
Like
He loves
loves
you, loves
every
you.
little roll on me, everything about me. And he's supportive with my business endeavors
Yeah.
and my events and what I want to do, how I want to change, the
Yeah.
perception of Nova Scotia and Canada and the world.
Yeah.
He's right there. He's like, let's do it, Tia.
We'll do it
If
together.
you think it can happen, I got you.
Do you think it's easier dating someone who has kids than someone who doesn't?
Not necessarily, because then you have to deal with their baby moms. They have.
That's what's hard. I'm like,
Oh
could I
God,
date
that's
someone
a whole
who
nother, that's a whole
could I
nother
date someone
episode.
with
You need to do
a
one on
husband?
how to date a man who has several baby moms who are
Not
toxic.
several.
Who are toxic. That's the next
Several
one.
toxic baby moms.
But it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because
It is hard.
I have stepchildren and they're 27, same age as my son.
Yeah.
23, 19, and the youngest stepson, he's going to be 17 in November.
Yeah.
And the lot of perception they have about me is not from me or their father, just from it's from their mothers. Yeah. So how do you navigate through that? And that, is hard because I would love for them to have been here. I've been with this man since the youngest ones were young, 5, 6, and one of them was like 12.
Right.
They could have came. I could have married him, brought him here, but I can't do that when our relationship is so torn because of the toxicity from their mothers. Every child's going to listen to their mother regardless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a hard one.
And I have empathy. I actually do have a lot of empathy for guys that are trying to date me because they have that fear of the baby dads. They're like, I don't want to get involved. Like,
imagine mine. Like, I remember the first time I got with him and people were like telling him like, yo, dealing with her, you got to deal with Buzzy.
right.
Like, he is not going to let her go. And he was hearing it for a good year, 2 years from different people.
Really?
And then they were like, you're crazy to mess with Tia. Like,
Yeah.
her baby daddy is like, he's been in jail. Like, he's been to jail for attempted murder. Like, and he really has. Like, he really has. But
God bless him.
he let it go because he knew he didn't want me no more.
Yeah.
And he had a new woman.
That's the thing. Like, and that's the thing that you have to define in your own relationships. Is like, how attached is that person? Like, with my baby dads, they've moved on. They've moved on 100%. Like the first one, him and his woman. I actually love his new woman. Like when Mara's going to his house, I know that he's taken care of. He's brushing his teeth. He's doing what he needs to do. Like
everything.
Yeah. Like I'm very grateful for her, and they're expecting their first child together.
Well, congrats on that.
I know.
Mara
yeah.
gets to be another brother.
Another big brother, right? And like with my second baby dad, like I know that he's moved on, just like he's doing his own thing. Like
Yeah.
I know that he's dating. He's really good at boundaries. Like he's like, no,
He's like Tia.
Yeah, very very good at those boundaries. Like
Shut it down.
Shut it down. So I mean, you have to be able to define that, especially with anybody who wants to come into a single mom's life. Like, those are valid questions to ask. Like, what's your relationship like with your baby dad?
I've asked, oh my goodness. I remember the first time we sat up all night long talking and we both wanted to know things. We were asking questions. We literally did it all night long when we first got together.
That's so important.
It was, some of them was awkward. Like, I was like, oh my God, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I need to know.
Yeah.
Because I knew I didn't want more kids. That was a big one.
Yeah.
I don't want no more. I want to concentrate on me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
when
please
you've been a
say.
mother since
14.
No, like, give us a break.
Give me a break. I don't
please.
want to push no more children. I don't want no more babies hanging off my titties. Like, I don't want it no more. And he was like, no, I don't want no more. But it's so funny because in the last couple of years, we've entertained the conversation. I said, I wouldn't do it at this point, babe.
I was going to ask, are you on birth control?
Yeah, absolutely. I said I wouldn't do it at this point. It wouldn't. Can you even see me with a child? That child be dragging, dusting in the car seat. I may be one of them parents to forget about my kid in the back of the car seat. Like, I'm so busy, right?
There's so many things.
So I wouldn't even. Yeah. And I know he would be a great father because, he's a great father to his kids. He's raised one of his kids by himself.
Wow.
His oldest son.
Right.
But no, it's not in the cards for us.
No.
Let's travel.
Travel, live your own life, and depends on what your needs are. Like, have that open communication. Just be honest. If someone wants marriage and kids and they've never had it and they want it with you, don't say that you can do it if you feel like you can't do it. And have those tough questions. Ask about the exes. Ask about that type of thing. If I was dating someone who had a baby mom and kids, I would also be as apprehensive as probably some of the guys that are trying to date me, knowing that I have baby daddies. Is like, what's the relationship like? Is there like a situation where they would come back in the life, or what's the dynamic like? It's possible. It's obviously possible to still find love and marriage.
Oh, absolutely.
After having kids, maybe third time's a charm. I don't know.
No, honestly, God, it is when you're ready, when it's your season. I always say to Francis that I think we were meant to be, and I met you that year, and I was done so dirty by my baby daddy because it was meant to be. Right. Because if I was still with him, I would have never met you. Like, I would never. Right. I would have been so engulfed in him, I wouldn't have seen what real love is.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad I went through that, and he built me up. So.
And you guys been together for 10 years.
It'll be 10 years October.
And do we have a wedding date?
No, we don't. I know people keep asking me that. I'm going to tell people, if you're asking about the wedding date, we don't have one. What we're doing is, just living our best lives. And when we're ready, we'll do it. But the same people that are asking about these wedding dates are the same people who ain't getting invited. Like, stop asking that you ain't getting invited. I'm really growing into a private phase of my life.
Yeah.
I really am. If you notice that, yes. I really am. If you're invited, you can come join in the nuptials with us and love with us. Yeah. But in general, when we're ready, we're ready.
Yeah.
And I just gotta start businesses and then concentrate on a wedding.
No wedding. Put all that energy into that.
Yeah. But it's good. I'm happy. I'm very happy. And if he was here, he would tell you he's happy too. Like, I'm going down to see him in a couple hours. So
you talk very highly of him.
He's a good man.
I admire your guys' relationship. I admire healthy relationships around me, and again, it just like creates that inspiration. Like, just because you have kids, just because you've lived a certain life, just because you've dealt with these types of relationships that might not have been healthy or things just didn't work out, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road for you. End of the day.
And I would say one thing before we sign off.
What's up?
If you are going through relationships that are not healthy, it may not just always be the partner or the person you're dealing with.
Look at yourself.
You may need to look at yourself and go through some healing on your own to be the best version for yourself.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Absolutely. You can't keep carrying that around.
No.
Well, thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, follow us on Instagram, The Blue Room Podcast. Join the conversation. We're always putting questions out there. We'd love to have your guys' perspectives and opinions. And we will see you guys soon.